Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Ryan Drury here. Chris Clark joining me as always. We are brought to you by our great friends at Coolbet Canada, our friends over at Larry Hudson's Chevrolet Buick GMC here in beautiful Listowel, Ontario. Remember, Hudson's has it, and our friends, of course, over at the Listowel Squash Courts. Clarkey, how are you? Did you have a nice Valentine's Day?
Yeah, it was. Thank you. Yes, it was good. Good exercise. Little roller derby. It wasn't derby. Roller skating. But you seem a little fired up today. What's going on with you?
I don't know, man. I'm just getting sick and tired of baseball owners, and I'm excited about
baseball. Hasn't even started yet. And
I know. Pitchers
and catchers are there, I guess, and games.
Pitchers and catchers,
close to happening. Yeah. But what the heck? Yeah, you seem fired up tonight, which is good.
We gotta play a clip and stay with us because we're after our opening bit here where we've got a lot to cover. We got to talk about the Super Bowl. Clarkey was right. The Chiefs ended up winning. I can never doubt Patrick Mahomes again. I made a mistake, but I hit a bunch of my player props with our friends at Coolbet. So
nice.
Remember, there's always a silver lining when you use player props and my favorite bet builder tool over at Coolbet. Before we dig into this Corbin Burnes nonsense, I don't know if a lot of fans have seen this, but we're going to dig into that in a minute. Obviously, rest in peace, Timmy McCarver. My God, what a legend, passing away at 81. We're recording this on Thursday, the 16th. The Baseball Hall of Fame confirming he passed away today. Obviously, he won back-to-back World Series with those great Cardinals teams in the 60s, played for the Phillies, the Expos. I mean, he did a little bit of everything. He was such a great player and then became a legendary broadcaster. He did his first World Series in 1985 as a broadcaster. He broadcast 24 World Series. That's more than any other broadcaster ever. Really, really sad news. Obviously, a legend passing away. And then, obviously, condolences to my guy, man. And everybody knows Ovi's my guy. Losing his dad, Mikhail Ovechkin, passing away at 71. And that one hit home for me, Clarkey. Obviously, I love Ovi. Like, I wouldn't even be a hockey fan anymore if it hadn't been for him. It sucked, especially because, the news dropped on what would have been my dad's 58th birthday. So it just stung a little bit. And I feel so bad for Ovi. I know he was really, really close with his dad. The Capitals obviously, shared all those great videos of Ovi bringing the cup home. His dad, the last couple of years, couldn't really travel much, so he stayed home in Russia, obviously. Just really, really sad and feeling it for O. He's obviously going to be away from the league for a little while, and rightly so. But yeah, our condolences to Ovi. It's never easy losing your dad, and definitely hit home for me for sure. So definitely thinking about my guy right now. All right, let's talk a little bit about this Corbin Burnes video. Now, if you're not familiar with who Corbin Burnes is, maybe you're a bit more of a casual ball fan if you watch our show or listen. Maybe you just kind of keep your eye on the Jays. Well, let me tell you about Corbin Burnes. This dude is arguably, some would tell you, the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. He's certainly a top 3 guy. This guy is a monster on the hill. It is almost a guaranteed hard day at the plate for hitters when Mr. Burnes goes to the mound every 5th day. He recently solved his arbitration case with the Milwaukee Brewers, his parent club. And man, that guy has established himself as definitely that team's best player. And in arbitration, he was seeking something like $10.7 million. The team wanted $10.1. What a dumb separation. Like, just give this guy a long-term deal at this point. He's a freak in his late 20s. Just pay this man. Like, if you're not going to pay this guy, who are you going to pay? And he shared in an interview at spring training some very pointed and interesting thoughts following his arbitration process, which is really a joke here, Clarkey. And I know producer Adam's got it queued up. I would love to play it right now. And I'd love your thoughts on what Corbin Burnes had to say here. Let's take a look at this video.
At the hearing, flew in the night before. had the hearing all day Tuesday. Spent Valentine's Day on a plane. Got home at 10, 11 o'clock and got to see my wife before she fell asleep. So that was kind of how the Valentine's Day went. So that was fun. But like I say, you kind of find out your true value. You think you work hard for 7 years in the organization and 5 years with the big league team, and you get in there and basically they value you much different than what you thought you contributed to the organization. And it's just it's obviously it's tough to hear, it's tough to take, but they're trying to do what they can to win a hearing. But I think there was obviously other ways that they could have gone about it, and probably been a little more respectful with the way they went about it. But at the end of the day, here we are. They obviously they won it, but when it came down to winning or losing the hearing, it was more than that for me.
Corbin, this is everyone's fear for a player, especially a star player going to a hearing, that it creates just some, maybe not bad blood, but just some hard feelings that weren't there before. How do you guys repair that?
Yeah, I mean, there's no denying that the relationship is definitely hurt from what perspired over the last couple weeks. There's really no way getting around that. Obviously, we're professionals, and we're going to go out there and do our job, and I'm going to keep giving what I can every fifth day that I go out there. But when some of the things that are said that for instance, basically put me in the forefront of the reason why we didn't make the postseason last year. That's something that probably doesn't need to be said. We can go about a hearing without having to do that. So that's kind of one of those things that obviously there was no attacking of character of person of who I was, but just the some of the stuff that was said that definitely didn't need to be said is something that I think kind of disappointed everyone.
So that is some of the most insulting sports audio that I have heard in a good while. And again, Milwaukee, they are, I guess, what you would call sort of maybe a mid-tier market, smaller market, certainly, in terms of baseball, but, a proud history there. I know they have a lot of money tied up in Christian Yelich, whose back is starting to fail him. But, man, when you got a big dog that eats people up like Corbin Burnes, and if you watch the Pitching Ninja stuff like I do, Clarkey, you'll know that, Pitching Ninja, Corbin Burnes throws his favorite pitch in baseball. He started throwing a lethal backdoor cutter a couple years ago, and it is among starting pitchers that have a favorite pitch. It's basically unhittable. It's right up there with Gausman's splitter, Ohtani's splitter, Scherzer's slider. Like, this guy is one of the cream of the crop talents. And what has the last number of years shown us? The rules this year might change this a bit, but the last decade has been all about the pitchers. And this guy's been one of the absolute best. And to have an arbitration hearing where it's less than $1 million separating them, and to not just offer this guy a monster, like an 8 or 9 year deal, he deserves that Scherzer money. He deserves that DeGrom money. He has established himself as a superstar of superstars.
He was 12-8. He wasn't 20-3. He was 12-8.
I don't want to hear about wins and losses.
He was 12-8.
I'm talking about this.
That's what it's all about. I get it. It's all what it's all about.
It's not what it's all about.
1-0 games, you got to win. It's all about wins and losses. That's all it's about.
Look, as a team, yes, but when we're talking about a pitcher and a guy that was 12-8 last year and has had much better lines than that across his career, and when you look at his individual numbers, he gets no run support. He had, among starting pitchers that played as many games as him, the third worst run support in all of Major League Baseball. And that's not his fault. He doesn't hit. Okay? So what I'm talking about is the individual brilliance that he brings to the mound as a pitcher. And in terms of that, he is one of, if not the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. And if he was a free agent, all 30 teams would have motorhomes parked outside whatever hotel he shacked up in to beg him to come and play. What do you want, Corbin? 15 years will do it.
How does the arbitrator side with the Brewers?
I have absolutely no idea. That's a good question. And because I'll tell you what it is. It's the class that you're in terms of arbitration has max amounts on arbitrations that they're willing to dole out. And Burnes knows that. So he asked for, I think it was about 10-7 or 10-6-5. They wanted 10-1 for some reason, just couldn't just give him. Like, this isn't even a thing where I'm saying absolutely
there's got to be more
giving
reasons.
him a
There's got to be reasons we don't know about, and I don't think the team's going to come out and tell us why.
I'll tell you exactly why. It's because the owner is cheap.
Well, that's not why the arbitrator. That's not why the arbitrator gave him 10-1.
It's not why the arbitrator. No, you're right. It's not. That's not why the arbitrator did what the arbitrator's hired to do.
Figure out this guy's worth.
We're in this situation because the team is too cheap to just give him. It's not like Corbin Burnes walked in there and said, I want a 10-year deal. Give me $300 million. Give me the Garrett Cole contract.
I just have a problem crying over $10.1 million a year. Quite frankly, I have a problem with that. I get it.
I understand what you're saying.
But the arbitrator's job is to value this guy's worth and say, this is how much, based on all comparables in Major League Baseball, you're closer to 10-1 than you are 10-8. And that's what he did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I understand that. I understand, because you and I don't make $10.1 million. I understand that. But when we're talking about within the context of what this business is, he is so elite that he deserves that big elite money, way up there with the Gosmans of the world that the Jays have. Like, selfishly, it's an incredulous thing, but the first thing I said was, oh my God, can the Jays go get this guy? Please, back the Brinks truck up.
Well, they can't. He's signed player. They would have to trade for him.
Yeah, now, because, please get him and give him whatever he wants. It's not like he walked in there and asked for the world. And when a player for you, you can look and say, oh, well, he was 12-8. Well, look at what he did in those games. He was dominant. And his team never gave him run support. He's a pitcher. And when you consider how huge of an icon he is, and I would call him a Milwaukee Brewers icon, he is the guy. He is so... I'm a nerd about sports, especially pitching in baseball. It fascinates me. Dude, when you talk to big baseball nuts and you say the words backdoor cutter, people know you're talking about Corbin Burnes. That's what we're talking about here, man. This guy is a stud. And he goes in there and asks for you figure this out in a year. I know the Christian Yelich money is a problem right now for that team. I understand that. But that's not Corbin Burnes' fault. And so he goes in there and asks for 1 year at whatever he asked for. Let's say it was 10-8. You just give him that. If you can't find $700,000, you deal a guy or you cut somebody. You find that for him to appease this guy. Because like he said, they basically said that it was his fault they didn't make the playoffs, and that is complete and utter BS. How can you say that as a team when you are only on the field every 5 days? That team was a joke at generating runs last year. As a matter of fact, through late May, they were dead last in the NL at run generation, and these stats are goofy, I know, but expected runs scored. I sound like I'm his arbitration lawyer. This is a joke. And
maybe that's what the problem was then. I don't know.
Maybe. But if what he said is true, and the team brass, because that's what they do. They go in there and they try and just, we've heard horror stories about arbitration dealings where they go in and try and just sewer guys, right? And I'm glad that didn't have to happen with Bo Bichette up here. I'm really glad, because the Jays could have went in there and said, look, he's the worst defensive shortstop in Major League Baseball. And if I was Ross Atkins, I'd go into the office and I'd do that, because that is your job. It's an unfortunate thing, this arbitration stuff, because you're going, well, no, I'm worth this. And the teams, even though they know you're a good player, in this case, a great player, they go in trying to sewer you and go, no, well, he made this mistake this time and blah, blah. But this is embarrassing. And if what he said is true, and they insinuated that because of his poor performance, that they didn't make the playoffs, that is an absolute joke. And I don't know how. I believe he's a free agent after this year. How on earth are you expecting him to go back to Milwaukee? He'll go to New York. He'll sign with the Yankees. He'll go to Boston. He'll go wherever somebody wants to actually treat him like the stud he is. Like, I'd understand more what you're saying, Clarkey, like, oh, this guy's whining and blah, blah, if he was in, like, his second year and he had an okay rookie year, then this year he popped off individually. No. This dude is a big dog, and you feed your big dogs, or the big dogs run away from home. And that's exactly what I expect. And I'm actually now rooting. I don't have a problem with the Milwaukee Brewers, the fans, none of it. I'm rooting for him to leave, and I hope he does, and that he sticks it right up there, you know what, in a playoff series potentially. But you know what? They probably won't make the playoffs without this guy. So I'm just embarrassed by this. It's just the latest chapter in Ryan Hates Baseball Owners. We should just start making like a video book where I go on these rants. I'm just sick of this.
Sure.
I'm so fed up with it, dude.
And I'm not sure if these stats are right that I'm looking at, but
no,
from what I see, he was 16th last year in run support. 4.4 runs for 16th in the league. Most.
They improved. They improved.
1. That's not one of the worst run support pitchers in the game.
No, I understand. They improved a lot over the course of the year, but the first 2 months.
16th in Major League Baseball. So
yeah, 16th isn't, 5th.
Oh my God. How many pitchers are there? Each team has 5 pitchers. 4 pitchers times 30. That's 120 pitchers. This guy's 16th.
He doesn't get good run support, dude. And I'm telling you right now,
he was 16th according to the stats I'm looking at. So
anyway, it's just embarrassing. I really don't like it. This guy deserves to be treated better than this. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to get that out of the way. I hope he's a Blue Jay, honestly. Like, let's just get everybody. Let's get everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get everybody.
Load
Why
up.
not?
Yeah.
Let's do what they did in the 90s. Let's get everybody. I don't care. All right. Let's talk a bit about the Super Bowl. Obviously, it was a really good game. Let's just go right to the end quickly. Your opinion on that call. Big controversy. The guy admitted that he held Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay, so
of all the holding calls I've ever seen.
No. So here's the thing. The worst part about it was, I would say 80% of the population thought that the hold was when he put his left hand on his back. That's not when the hold was. The hold was his right when the guy was spinning. He grabbed his shirt, and you can see his shirt was pulled. There's
the
no
first move. Yes, the first move
really wasn't spotted on the main game camera. It was on a secondary camera. However,
it's worth being said.
The problem with not calling that. And I think I'd be a little bit of a hypocrite if I said they shouldn't have called that, because I sat here after the Leaf playoff and said after Matt Sundin, woo, there's a flashback after Austin Matthews was definitely getting tugged in the shirt in the playoff game by
Alex Killorn,
and everyone was telling everybody who they knew that there should have been a penalty on that play. Holding's holding. I'm sorry. Yes, it was a half a second long. He held him. He prevented him from making his proper move. If it was within 5 yards and all this, well, yeah, maybe he shouldn't have been. But all it was in my mind, though, was a terrible ending to a tremendous football game.
Yeah,
because the next guy runs the ball down to the 1, falls down, and they kill time, and they kick the field goal like I predicted. But it shouldn't have happened that way. It should have played out a lot better, and it just wasn't a great ending.
I think that's what everybody's main problem with it was, whether it was a holding or not. I think by letter of the law, yes, it's just a lot of people were saying you let a lot of other ones go, and now all of a sudden it's a call. So people had a problem with that, and the fact that you're right. That next play, Jerick McKinnon, who, by the way, what a heads-up play by that guy. You talk about sacrificing for the greater good. That guy's probably dreamt about running a touchdown in the Super Bowl since he was 10 years old, and has a chance to do it, but knows if I do that, they're going to have time to have the ball back, and he sacrifices the glory. And goes down. What an unbelievable play by Jerick McKinnon. But that call does end up, whether you agree with this phrasing or not, robbing the Eagles of having what would have amounted to about a minute and a half with Jalen Hurts with the ball, and he was unbelievable. Let me tell you, he set a record for rushing touchdown. He had 3 rushing touchdowns, a passing touchdown on a dart to A.J. Brown. It's unfortunate the way it ended, but I will say this in the totality of everything. He did make the biggest mistake in the game. That fumble that Kansas City ran back for a touchdown was about as gruesome as it gets, and he knows that. He knows that. I'm not taking anything away from his brilliance. He was unbelievable. Let's also not forget that you're talking about a Patrick Mahomes who was definitely not at 100%. Let's call it 80, 85. He certainly fooled us in the second half.
The end of the second quarter looked like he might be done.
Right? That didn't look good.
I told you that's just the way it happens in the Super Bowl. I said this last week.
Well,
the freezing comes out and the shots happen, and he's not as bad as we thought.
There were some horse tranquilizers floating around in the Kansas City locker room, and he comes out there and they scored. Here's the whole story of the game for me. Forget the first half. By the way, interesting stat: Kansas City just the second team ever to win a Super Bowl after trailing by 10 or more points at halftime. The only other team to do it, the New England Patriots, when they were down 28-3. How about that? So Mahomes adding to his legacy again. But here's the whole story of the game. They come out in the second half. Eagles are feeling good. We're up 10. Rihanna's laying out banger after banger, hanging from the ceiling. Let's go. We're feeling good. All of a sudden, Kansas City. Wow, he tripped me up there. Kansas City comes out and they score on every possession they had in the second half. And all we heard about, and why I laid money down, I laid a sizable bet down on Eagles covering the spread of 1.5. Because all we heard about was this historically great defense. They had 85 sacks in the regular season this year. Third most all time. People were talking about these guys like the 85 Bears, the Purple People Eaters, all the Ravens in 2000, all these great defenses. They're up there. They didn't sack Patrick Mahomes one time. A hobbled Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And that run that he tore off as well in the fourth quarter, that 19-yard run, where you could tell he was feeling it and was kind of dancing on his heel to do it. A heroic play. He is cementing himself already as a 27-year-old as an all-time great player, entertainer, quarterback. He's not the greatest of all time. Let's slow down. Let's slow down. How quick we forget. How quick we forget.
It's fine.
But what a game. It was a great game. Really exciting. And it continues a trend over the last 7 or so years of the Super Bowl being really, really good. Yeah.
I find it funny. The only thing I really find funny is the week before, after the game, exchanging the jersey with the referee.
Yeah, that was...
I can't remember the ref's name, but he exchanges jerseys with the referee after the championship game, and then the next week, the Super Bowl, and they get a call. Interesting.
Yeah, the NFL
just found it funny. That's all.
No, dude, the NFL has a real... image problem, and they really do, because they continually run into these situations where it's like, no, the refs are the best. Roger Goodell said they're the best they've ever been.
He did,
and Gary Bettman are comfy bedfellows that way. Our officials are the best.
Oh yeah, it's just too bad it affected the game the way it did. That's all. Let the players play. Let the players play. I get it. Let the players play. Then don't take a penalty. Don't do that. Justin Holl took a stupid penalty that no one wanted to get called. It got called. That changed the outcome of Game 7. Whatever.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, don't take a penalty.
Yeah. Just don't cry to me about the referees. That's all. As a Leaf fan.
Well, yeah, you don't need to hear about the referees. I
don't.
And we're going to talk about your guy, Justin Holl, in a little bit with our friend Dark Guy when he joins the show. Stick around for that. But yeah, it's really too bad.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, it ended up being a good game. It was entertaining. let's quickly, get your thoughts. Halftime show. Rihanna, look, hey, I'm not like a big Rihanna guy. Look at this. What a hero. What a hero. Kate coming through. She knows I was sleeping. I had to have a power nap because when you get up at 4 a.m. to deliver news to Midwestern Ontario, you got to have a sleep in the middle of the day, and she brings me a coffee. Yeah. What a legend. By the way, she really treated
my
me.
door is open. I think she knows the code. I guess she's
she knows the door code. Yeah, sure. I'll for sure send her right over to you. No, she's a beauty, and really treated me on Valentine's
I don't drink
Day.
coffee, so we're good.
I know you don't. Yeah, you're a tea guy. 2 milk, correct? 2 milk in the tea.
Cream.
It's cream. I don't know why I always think that it's milk for you. I don't know why. No. Yeah, you're the weird guy that does cream in the tea.
Yeah,
right.
I am the weird guy.
Now let's get back on track here. Rihanna. We do this. We just did it with Mahomes, saying slow down, like he's not the greatest of all time. He's not Joe Montana. Different eras. And there's different eras of Super Bowl shows. I'm not a big Rihanna fan. I thought she was awesome and like confirmed after, that she's pregnant with her second child. And for her to like put that show on and be floating up in the air, and it was unbelievable. I also thought it was a pretty baller move to come out and play Better Have My Money as the opening track. I thought that was extremely funny. I was eating that up. And she was incredible. Like she did a great job. But we do this thing now where it's like, oh, that was the greatest halftime. It was not the greatest halftime show of all time. It wasn't. Like
people just always think a good halftime show right after it is the best one ever. Yeah, it was good.
I think people were shell shocked. And look, I'm not I'm in a band for fun. I'm not the Piano Man or something like that. Okay. But yeah. I think people were like shell shocked after the Black Eyed Peas did the halftime show that year, and it went pretty south on them. Remember old Fergie out there, old Fergler? She was trying to sing Sweet Child of Mine with Slash. And I'll give Rihanna credit for this. Some people didn't like this. I thought it was cool. She did the whole show by herself. I was waiting, like, who's going to come out? Like, someone's going to pop out of the stage, like Billie Eilish or something, who, by the way, will probably do it next. They should ask her anyway. I think people were shell-shocked by how bad that one was, that since then, and Katy Perry got ran over the coals pretty hard too, which I thought was a little unfair, but it's all a matter of taste, right? But like now we're swinging it too far the other way. Beyonce did it. Greatest of all time, which by the way, I'll just controversially say, I just think she's the most overrated artist of all time. And congrats to her. She won a record 30-second Grammy the other night. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, take it or leave it.
This is a sports show. And is Dart Guy waiting? We got to get to Dart Guy. Is he waiting?
We'll get to Dart Guy. Okay. In closing, what was your favorite halftime show that you remember seeing?
Oh, my gosh. Well, what was the one where the malfunction of the...
You can't say
no, that's the only one.
Jackson and Justin Timberlake.
There you go, Justin. Yes. Yeah, that's the one. You
can't say that.
Come on,
man.
That's the one that comes to mind every time I think of it.
Oh, yeah. It comes to mind.
Staged. Don't tell me that wasn't staged. Like, no question about it.
It was staged. It was 100%. Staged.
But that's
not your favorite.
Time. Has Lionel ever played it? No, he hasn't. So, whatever. You know what? I'm not a big, halftime guy. Like, I just like the game.
Fine.
I
can't believe you brought that up.
Of course you got that up.
I ask you, what's your favorite? You're like, the malfunction.
The malfunction. There's no doubt about it.
Well, her brother did a pretty legendary one, of course. Prince, honorable mention Prince, when he played Purple Rain at the Super Bowl that year and it started raining. But the best Super Bowl halftime show was U2, the year they played it after 9/11. And when they played Where the Streets Have No Name and Bono was running around the circular saying, I want to run, and all those banners came up with all the names of the victims. And at the end, he opened his coat and had the American flag stitched in it. Powerful. That was the best Super Bowl halftime show.
What was the best Grey Cup halftime show?
Oh, Shania Twain crushed it
100%. Shania Twain, absolutely.
It was awesome, especially the way she dog sled.
It was awesome. It was
killer, dude.
And she's
Bryan Adams did it one year too. It was really good. The Arkells
Shania
have done
was
it.
The best.
She was the best. But
worst part about the Super Bowl, bar none, in my mind, the turf.
Oh my God, that was it. They spent $800,000 on that.
That's $800,000 wasted. That was
a disaster.
Yeah,
it was some new grass. Light that grass on fire.
Yeah, don't use it again. It was awful.
I'd rather play on those old gym mats that you used to use in gym class for wrestling.
Danny Webb is the Danny Webb's the equipment guy for the Argos. Good friend of mine. We should get him on.
Yeah,
couple of weeks and just talk about all the things you got to do to make sure you have the right cleats, because you saw the picture of all the cleats, right?
Yeah, they took them all off, everybody pretty much.
But this guy's seen it all. I mean, he's been prepared. He's got his tickle trunk there with many different kinds of cleats. He'll tell you that. Anyway,
unbelievable.
Can we get Dark Guy on? I want to talk some Leafs.
Let's do it. It's time to talk about the Leafs as we get primed for the trade deadline. It's coming up on us, and the Leafs just got their big boy back, reigning Hart winner Austin Matthews back in the lineup. Your neighborhood-friendly Dark Guy coming up next here on Instigating. Welcome back to Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Back here, myself, Ryan Drury, Chris Clark, and like we mentioned in the opening segment, we're very, very pleased to welcome back a very, very special friend of the show, your neighborhood-friendly Dark Guy, Mr. Jason Maslakow. Buddy, how are you doing? I know we joked before we brought you on that this is kind of the IR recovery show, me with my surgery a couple weeks ago. How are you doing, man, with your health stuff? I know, how are the ribs feeling? How are you?
I've got 2 non-displaced rib fractures. I never experienced pain like this in my life before. I've broken bones and you name it. This is pretty bad. It's like you can't even breathe without it hurting. But, it's a good old IR episode. You have your shoulder, I got my ribs, and at Clarkey's age, I'm sure he's got some ailment to hurt him.
Oh yeah, I always have something. He's seen me play squash, Dark Guy, and when I play squash, there's not enough braces in the world for me. But right now, it's heel spurs that I'm dealing with. So anyway, it's all. How'd you break your ribs? What'd you do?
Oh, it slipped on some ice, landed on.
Oh no,
it wasn't good.
Oh no,
that's a tough one, brother. Well, I'm glad that you're okay enough. And look at you, what a beauty! He's fighting through the pain, something the Leafs need to do this year, and he's fighting through the pain to be on this show. That's the Dark Guy we know and love, Clarkey.
That's right. Exactly. I was just going to say it's freezing rain out there tonight, so be careful. Don't go out there and slip again.
Not anywhere in like 2 weeks. I've been laid up on my couch, but I only power through for you guys in the Leafs. So
perfect.
What it's worth.
What a beauty. Well, let's talk about those Maple Leafs. I mean, they continue to chug along. They've had the odd little hiccup here and there. The back-to-back Columbus situation wasn't ideal, sure, but they got a point out of it, right? I mean, they won the first game, just couldn't get that second one at home. But then they railroad Chicago the other night. Austin Matthews back, Big Poppy pots a goal, gets a helper. Seems like he's feeling a little bit better. What's your impressions of how the last couple months have gone since we last talked? Because boy, again in Leafland, it's been an interesting year of storylines, hasn't it?
Well, it always is, and it always will be in Toronto, no matter what's going on. But the constant white noise about how the Leafs play down to their competition, and leaving some valuable points on the board to teams like Columbus, Arizona, for that matter. And I understand why people get frustrated with it, and I understand why some people would be alarmed. But I would rather be in that situation where you're batting .750 against the top teams in the league, and the teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. Well, if those are the teams you're losing to, there's always something to learn from it. But you take the opposite situation and you look at Tampa right now, and Tampa's caught up to us in the standings. They're right on our heels, but they're not faring as well against the upper echelon teams in the league. They're padding their standings through the bottom half of the league. I would rather be going into the playoffs being the team that is beating your closest competition. And, like I said, I get the frustration, but I'm happy with the way the Leafs are rolling right now.
It's funny how, it's just natural that Leaf fans and non-Leaf fans just trying to get on us, point all that stuff out all the time. But you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, for instance, and they come out of the All-Star break, lose 7-1 to Florida, lose 1-0 last night. They couldn't score against Arizona. And I watched some of that game, and I tell you what, guys, I know it's a big arena that Arizona's playing in right now, but it was half full. Like, it was half full. Like, how do they ever expect to fill up a bigger rink when this one can't even get filled up against Tampa, the second best team last year in the league? But every team does it, right? Like, yeah, they showed last night on the stats that if the Leafs had, played 900 against the weaker teams, they would be right there with Boston. But I want to hit you up first about this playoff format, and I know there's been a lot of scrutiny over it. What do you think the league should do with this playoff format, or is it just a typical thing that, you know what, things are going to happen every once in a while and just leave it the way it is?
No, I ever since they changed it, I didn't like the change, and not that it would necessarily change our first round opponent too much right now, I don't think, but it's got to go back to the simple 1 versus 8 and call it a day. This need to have the divisional formats and everything, I don't think it benefits the league in any type of way. I think it's created any kind of more intense rivalries or anything like that. So go back to 1 versus 8 and be done with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm just over talking about it. Even Sid at the All-Star break said that he'd prefer the 1 versus 8. How about Sid the other night? He got tossed out of a game for the first time. How about Sid, eh? Yeah.
Indictment to the state of the league, though, when the face of your league, Sidney Crosby, for the last 18 years, doesn't feel like he can actually speak his mind to the media. Everybody saw the interview where he said, "I can't really say what I think now, can I?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little disappointing when, like I said, the guy's been the face of the league, saved the Penguins franchise, and he doesn't feel like he can go out and voice his true opinion on the state of the referees or the state of the league. That's disappointing to see. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disappointed in Sid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm disappointed in the fact that the NHL has gotten to this point.
No, yeah, you're absolutely.
And the NHL's gotten to so many points, and one of them, and let's dive into this trade deadline. It's such a silly, it's so frustrating with this salary cap the way it is right now that there's hardly any trade. Sure, the Rangers pull off the Tarasenko deal, sure, the one-offs, but it's so stale. And fans love trades. That's what we die for.
Well, and to be fair, the only reason the Rangers were actually able to do that is because they still have so many of their young players on sweetheart rookie deals or bridge deals.
Yeah, no, I get that, Ryan, but I'm just saying, it doesn't happen very often. And it sounded to me and maybe it's fine, but they come out and say that Panarin talked to him beforehand and asked him if he would come. Isn't that tampering? Are you allowed to do that? Is Austin Matthews allowed to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, Patrick, do you want to come and play for the Leafs? Because we can make that happen if you do." I don't know. It just sounds all crazy. Anyway, let's talk about the trades because they're going to make something. They're going to do something. They have to, right? Dubas's job's on the line. They have to do something. Big, small, huge. Where do you think they're going to go with this?
Well, where I think and what I think are two different things. Okay. Sometimes they'll say sometimes the best trade you can make is not making a trade at all. Unfortunately, coming into this deadline, that's not an option for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No.
This has to do something. Now, what I would like him to see, what I would like to see happen, and there's ways to make it work if you want to get creative, he needs to get at least one of the D that are available as far as Chychrun, Karlsson. I'm not so sold on Gavrikov because the asking price for him seems to be the same as Chychrun, and that wouldn't make any sense to me. But you need to get at least one of the top D available, and you need to get one of the top forwards left, whether that's Timo Meier, Patrick Kane, Ryan O'Reilly. I can't really see Detroit being sellers on Bertuzzi, considering they're a few points out of a playoff spot themselves. But Dubas has to do something. And for him right now, he has to do it now. You cannot let cannot let Boston, who has a little more cap space, you can't let Tampa, New Jersey, Carolina, you can't let those guys take all these players and you take the. That will be an epic fail. The other part, he needs to tell his team, send a message. He's got confidence in the room. You make a move, and you make a big move to tell everybody else in that dressing room, we believe in you. Here's your help. Now go get it done.
I mean, like, Jesus, the Raptors added at the deadline. Like, for God's sake, like the Leafs, surely you've got to do it. And yes, they have cap problems. Everybody's got cap problems, you know, who can make deals. But I agree. I think that they have to shore something up. Clarkey, you got something to add?
Well, I just wanted to dig in a little deeper to this. You mentioned three guys who I'm very intrigued on: Meier, Kane, Ryan O'Reilly. Rank those three guys. Who would be the best fit for the Leafs?
Given what we've seen in past years, Timo Meier.
I agree. He should be number one.
And to let him go to Boston or New Jersey would be an absolute travesty by Kyle Dubas.
Yeah, and here's... Yeah. Go ahead, Clarkey. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say Kane would be 3 on my list. I would love to see them get Meier and Ryan O'Reilly. I don't know if they can pull that off. I've heard that Morgan Riley might be getting dangled out there. Who knows? But that's the next thing I wanted to ask is, who would you give up? Like, it certainly sounds like, and I know Ryan's going to go off on me, but and probably I'm agreeing with him. I would trade Matthew Nyes. I don't care. Trade Matthew Nyes if you're going to get a big star.
Yeah,
dark guy. Go Meier, who you have some control over. He's an RFA.
Yeah,
is no problem. So here's the thing. A lot of Leafs Nation, when you go on social media, are acting like this guy is like he's going to be a 50-goal power forward. Now, I love what Nyes' game, but I don't think his offense translates to the NHL as much as some Leafs members of Leafs Nation believe it's going to. Now, this is a guy who's come in and he's going to play a power forward role for you, but I think you can pencil him in for 15 to 20 goals a year, not 35 to 40 like Timo Meier. So I would rather, in this instant, take a guy that I know is going to make an instant contribution to this team than hold on to Nyes, and who knows, maybe he turns out to be a bust. I mean,
might not even sign.
Well, he hasn't signed either. A lot of what he's been doing recently is very much pointing to the fact that he's going to ink a deal. He's been doing podcasts with some lesser known Leaf podcasts and whatnot. So he's showing an interest and a willingness to be involved in what's going on in the world of the Leafs right now. So I don't think him signing is going to be a problem, but that's always there as well. That is something to consider. But you have to do something, and a Timo Meier, when you're talking about what are you going to give up? Well, I'm going to call San Jose. I'm going to say, yeah, everybody knows we want Timo, but what do you want for Timo and Karlsson?
Ooh.
Yeah, it like the machinations of the Karlsson thing are going to take obviously some salary retention. You mix a third team in. I'm reading tonight that apparently the rumor mill is swirling that it's an 80% done deal where Edmonton is going to get him, and boy, they could really use him too. Sure, but Meier would be a giant get, and I agree. Now, Patrick Kane is Patrick Kane. He's an all-time great. He's a Hall of Famer, all that stuff. The hip stuff does worry you. And the Leafs, yes, he looked fine the other night when they played, but the Leafs, I think they're scared of it because look what happened last year, and this was not this guy's fault, but look what happened last year with Foligno. I think that Kyle Dubas would be like, geez, I don't know, right? Because that would really, really hurt to have him go down with chronic hip issues. I'd call them chronic at this point. I love Ryan O'Reilly. I think the world of him. Good Godrich boy. Winner. Does all the little things that you love and can score and win you big draws. He'd be in the mix too. But Meier would be the main guy. You don't need any help at center. You need that winger that can really make an impact. He plays a power forward type of role. He's a big kid with some snarl that can skate, lace some hits, has that sniper ability. And as far as the Matthew Nyes thing, here's what I'll tell you guys. Look, Matthew Nyes has never even kissed NHL ice before. Do I think he has the potential to be a good player? Yes, I do. But what this is about right now, like if people are like, well, what if we trade him away and he turns into a 30-goal scoring power forward? Great. Good for Matthew Nyes. Do it somewhere else then, because what this is about for the Leafs is where players are now. And right now, the Leafs are in a cup or bust window that is open for another couple years here. John Tavares not getting younger, folks. Right now, Timo Meier is triple the player that Matthew Nyes is. And if you put both them in the Leafs lineup tomorrow, I guarantee you who would be the better player and would have a bigger impact. If Matthew Nyes in 3 or 4 years develops into a 30-goal scoring power forward for San Jose, great. But you're getting the way better player now. That's how trades go. The Washington Capitals won a Stanley Cup. They traded Philip Forsberg. Good for Philip Forsberg. He scores 30 every year. Up.
Yeah,
Matthew Nyes.
No argument from us, man.
I'm just sick and tired of hearing about Matthew Nyes. Oh, these nutcases on Twitter. Oh my God, we can't trade Matthew Nyes. We can. Yeah. Yes, you can.
And 90% of them have never seen him play.
90% never seen him play. Jason?
My other problem to that is we have a kid that we managed to grab, I believe, second round, who's second in OHL scoring right now. I bet you 90% of Leaf fans out there do not know the name Ty Voigt.
But sure do.
If you're sitting there saying you're not going to trade Nyes, maybe look down the depth chart, because if we move Nyes, we have a kid in Ty Voigt who might be just as good, if not better. All right?
Yeah.
So,
a different player, too. And I actually think Voigt might have been... He might have been a 6th round pick. He might have even been later.
Wasn't first or anything like that, but I don't remember.
I think he was a sneaky 6th. Go ahead, Clarkey.
No, I was just going to say the interesting part about Meier, and I want to throw this out there. Just say they at least make a trade for Meier. Now, remember, he's an RFA. They will control his rights after this season's done. They can trade him, they can let him walk, or they can try to sign him. What if Meier comes in, it has a terrific playoff, and the Leafs, let's just say, go very far. I'm not going to say the magic word, but let's just say they go very far.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't. Maybe they only make it to the second round, but he has a terrific 2 rounds, and Mr. Fancy Pants doesn't. Would you consider trading Mr. 16 Fancy Pants and keeping Meier? Why not?
I would look the other way around. I've mentioned this name on your podcast multiple times. If you're looking at the possibility, Nylander's coming up for contract, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he settled for a little less money than he wanted the first time around. What do you think is going to happen at this stage in the game, coming off a career year? This kid is going to be asking for $10 million. No questions asked. Is he a $10 million player? No. So when I'm looking at the Leafs and their scenario right now, and I'm going to give William Nylander some credit, because over the last month or two, I've seen a little more to his game that seemed to be lacking in recent years. Like, I've actually noticed him forechecking and trying to create puck separation from people instead of turning away from hits, which he still does often. But at least there's some more commitment, some more work ethic happening that is making him the more complete player that he is, and the reason why he's having a career year right now. But if you're going to look at him potentially wanting 9 to 10, if not more, million per season, my phone call right now is to the San Jose Sharks and saying, we have William Nylander to offer. We want Timo Meier and Erik Karlsson. What else do we need to make this work for everybody?
Juicy. Love it. Juicy. Now, Willie has 2 years left. He's not a free agent until 24-25. But he's a good ticket at 6.9.
What's he? How much is he going to want?
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
You're landing. So like if I'm his agent, I'm going, hey, like start the conversation at 9 and let's climb the ladder. That's what will happen. That's what will happen. And whether you agree with it or not, that's the market. And when he hits free agency, he will be one of the premier scoring players. whatever you think of his entirety of his game as a hockey player, he will be one of the premier scorers available, and he will get paid as such. It's interesting. It's juicy. I do wonder about, I'm on the same train as you. I would like them to improve their forward core first, and here's why. I'm listening to Overdrive the other day, and they threw out a stat that was mind-blowing to me. I could not believe this. Since 2017, only 2 players in Toronto's bottom 6 have scored a playoff goal. Kapanen against the Caps in overtime, and David Kampf last year. How's that even possible? I was like, there's no way that's true. And I went back and looked. It is. I couldn't believe it. So, they need some forward depth, but I got to ask you about everybody's favorite player. Your buddy, Dusty Justin Holl, is having a rough go. He's in one of those ruts again, man. If the Leafs are going to do anything in the playoffs, yes, they got to go and I'd love for them to get Meyer. I think that'd be the best thing. Whatever they do, they cannot have this guy starting games. If he's an injury replacement, fine. He's in his last 20 games, start guy. He's been on the ice for 23 goals against, and he put on the opposite of a masterclass against Columbus the other night. Man, was he bad. You can't have this guy starting playoff games if you want to win a series, let alone a cup. Your thoughts?
Agree. I posted on my Twitter there a little bit into the season, maybe about a month into the season, that Justin Holl had officially entered the Mark Marincin zone for me. And that's saying a lot, because I absolutely despise watching Marincin fumble the puck around and give it away. And I agree with you fully. I mean, you look at it wanting to have some success in the playoffs. I don't see how Dubas can fully believe that Justin Holl is going to be the answer at any point in time for anything. Especially when you got a guy that you just absolutely stole from Arizona and Connor Timmins, that has been performing admirably in his, I think, 19 games so far. He's been fantastic. So whether that is something lesser like a Gavrikov or maybe you look at a Periaco or something, you can't have him in the lineup, and I fully agree with that. Now, I just think if Dubas wants to really go for it and he wants to get creative, there are ways to move money in and out of the lineup and make your moves. You can bring in a Meyer, a Kane, and a defenseman like a Carlson and still make the cap work without having to give up too much. So it's just a matter of how creative. Now, it's all fine and dandy to have these conversations and think what we should do. Do I think Kyle Dubas is actually going to do it? I don't think so. I don't think, for whatever reason, he sees it that way, or maybe it's blind faith. I don't know. I don't think he's going to pull off that massive deal where everybody's blown away. I don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I don't see him doing it.
I hope you're wrong too.
I kind of agree. I hope you're wrong too. I'd like to see you guys finally have some success. That fan base has been through enough.
But all I want to say is, don't you think if he doesn't do anything and this team doesn't win a round?
Oh yeah, he's gone. No, he's gone.
Gone. He think has to, and that's why I think he will. I think he has to. If he does nothing
and they win 2 rounds, I think he still might be gone. Because it depends on who they lose to. He's still. That shouldn't matter anymore.
I know it shouldn't matter, but Boston
is such a loser's mentality.
No, dude, Boston is having an unbelievable year.
If
they hit Boston in the conference final and lose in 7 games, they're not firing anybody.
I don't care who they're.
I told you, Jason, before we started, he's looped tonight, man. He's not thinking straight. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, I'm not thinking straight for sure. Let's just keep failing and running around the wagon. No, it's just I still do. I kind of agree with you, Dark Guy. His comments the other day and his media availability made me a little nervous, just because I still think he is so in that mindset of the we can and we will era with these four guys, where he's like, these guys can do it. They can carry us.
I'm hoping what
four
he
lines.
Says, I'm hoping what he says in the media isn't actually what he's thinking.
I hope so too.
Like I hope so too. Like,
I hope he goes. Let's
talk goaltending. Like Sammy's playing great, and there's no question.
They need a third goalie?
Well, I don't know, but if you have a guy who supposedly has been playing great in the minors, now so did Michael Hutchinson. We all know that, but Wall has been playing great down there. Again, this is all in fitting guys in, but if you're going to get Ryan O'Reilly, can you get Binnington too? And can you make that work with trading Wall and some other assets to St. Louis? Like, I think they need another goalie. I really do. I don't think Matt Murray is the guy. He's just too fragile.
Well, here's the one thing. Part of what's going on right now, I think, is a matter of making sure Murray is healthy for when they hit the playoffs, in case they do need him. It's abundantly clear that Samsonov, just like I had pretty much predicted at the beginning of the season on this very show, has taken over and is perhaps easily one of the top 10 goaltenders in the league right now. Thank you very much, Washington Capitals, for just letting him walk. That was fantastic. Do you go out and see a contract spot on a goalie right now? I don't think so. I think they're being extra cautious with Murray and making sure that when the playoffs roll around, they do have two healthy goalies. They know Sammy's holding the fort down and carrying the load right now, and he's quite happily doing it and doing it very well. I would not want a guy like Binnington coming in. I don't care that he's won a cup. That's fantastic. That's great and all. He's a guy we've seen have multiple meltdowns on the ice over the last couple of years, temper tantrums.
I don't care if you win a cup. I get it, but I don't care.
Is Binnington going to come in and be okay being number two to Samsonov? No, he's not.
And I don't think his attitude would fit well in that room, to be honest.
What, the attitude of losing in the first round every year? That attitude? That's the one?
No, it's just him in particular. I don't know how much his personality would gel with the rest of the room there. But yeah, I agree, Dark. Hey, in closing, I think Samsonov's been very good for you and good for him. Like, he better show up in the playoffs, because he did this all the time in Washington.
No, you said he started great and then he would falter.
Man, would he ever have?
He told us. Jason, isn't that what he told us?
Yep, and I stand by it.
He'll play 10 great games, and that's it.
Exactly.
That's essentially what he's done. He's good. He's good at home. He's good at home. Can't stop a beach ball on the road. And my God, in high pressure games, does he still let some muffins in? And I don't care. They let him walk. We should have two Stanley Cups, but the guy can't screw his head on straight when the pressure comes on. I hope I'm wrong for you. And if he goes on and has success, fine. The playoffs will be very telling, because this guy loves a muffin. He loves a muffin in the third period in a tie game. Oh my God, does he love a third period muffin? I hope it doesn't happen, but
just to happen, Clarkey. I knew the story would change from,
of course,
game's good and then he's horrible the rest of the year, to now it's, it's only the regular season. Wait till he makes the playoffs. So I'll sit here and I'll tell you the same thing. He's going to do the exact same thing for the Leafs in the playoffs as he's doing right now, and that's stand on his head.
Stand on his head strong. He's terrible on the road. I wouldn't want him as my road goalie. And that's not a complete goalie, is he? His stats on the road are what they are. Sub 900. Sorry. And guess what? You got to play on the road in the playoffs. And if the Leafs keep playing the way they are right now, they will be on the road in the playoffs. So I don't love that. And my story's the exact same. And no one's doubted his talent. Yeah, it is. No one's doubted his talent. He was a 15th overall pick. He cannot screw it on when you really need him. And he's never done it. Ever. Not one time. In a pressure situation. Regular season, rock and roll. I'm glad he's having some success. Good for him. Did it in Washington. He'd have like a shutout and post like a 935 save percentage one week, and then the next week he'd go 870 and lose all 3 starts. That's what this guy does. Now, in the regular season, has he screwed it on a little more straight? Absolutely, and good for him. I'm very, very interested. I will be tuned in acutely to what number 35 gets up to in the playoffs. Best of luck. Anyway, Dark Guy, it's a pleasure, man. It's great to have you on. I'm glad you're feeling better. Good luck. Man, I feel so bad for you with the ribs, man. I hope we didn't make you laugh too much tonight. Dude, it's just great to see you, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
As always, guys.
All right, great to have our friend Jason Maslakow, Mr. Dark Guy. Follow him on Twitter at LeafsMaz. You can find all of his great content. He is one of the best Leaf fans out there and one of our best friends on the show. Speaking of this show, you can watch the show Friday nights at 8, Sunday nights at 9 with our friends on Whiteman TV. That's channel 6 for Whiteman subscribers. We debut on our YouTube channel Friday nights at 9. Follow us on social media at InstigatingPod. Thanks again to our great sponsors, Coolbet Canada, Larry Hudson, Chevy Buick GMC here in Listowel, and the Listowel Squash Courts. I'm Ryan Drury for Clarkey and our friend Dark Guy. You've been watching another great episode of Instigating. We will be back next week.